It's Tuesday, the 16th of January 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, we have 5 stories to race through in 5 minutes. Let's get cracking. Story number 1, the owner of Rebel, Supercheap Auto, Macpac and BCF yesterday announced strong Christmas trading with a jump in sales for the December half. But Chief Executive Anthony Heraghty has warned that rising wages and rents are going to hit profit margins.
Preliminary first half revenue for Super Retail Group was $2 billion and first half profit was a touch over $200 million across the 700 stores in the group. Now, the news sent its share price up 6%, and some of the other retailers like Premier Group, which owns Smiggles, Just Jeans and Peter Alexander, did pretty well as well. That company ended up 4%. Super Retail Group's biggest brand is Supercheap Auto. It showed sales growth of 4%, but the real star was BCF. It was up 8%. The laggard, shall we say, was Rebel. Sales there fell about 1%. What Mr. Heraghty did say was that most of the strength was in the first part of that 6-month period. By the end, Christmas, post-Christmas sales, things weren't so good.
And Sean, that's what the CommBank Household Spending Insights Index that was released yesterday, that seemed to show that as well.
Yeah, so the big banks, Commonwealth Bank, of course, is the biggest, get all this data from spending on credit cards and debit cards, all that sort of stuff. So they've got a pretty good inkling about what's going on. The index fell sharply last month as successive interest rate hikes and the pull forward of spending in Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales hit retailers. There were falls in spending on recreation, food and beverage and hospitality. Offsetting that were increases on transport, insurance and health. So people weren't spending as much money on the fun stuff, more on the necessities of life.
Okay, moving on to story number 2 now. And in politics, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has again reiterated that the government intends to proceed with the already legislated Stage 3 tax cuts.
Yeah, they're the ones that are due to kick in on 1 July this year, with the 32.5% and 37% tax brackets will be rolled into a single 30% tax bracket, and the threshold for the top 45% tax bracket will increase to $200,000. Middle-class tax cuts, effectively, and welfare and charity groups in particular have called for the money to be spent elsewhere. Yesterday, the Prime Minister told ABC Radio the cuts would go ahead. He also said the government's looking at what it can do to ease cost of living pressures. Just quickly before we leave politics, Penny Wong, the foreign minister, she's headed off for the Middle East. Yesterday, some controversy about where she is visiting and where she's not visiting, Michael.
Story number 3, Sean. Oil and gas giant Santos has received federal court approvals to go ahead with a $5.8 billion gas project off the Northern Territory coast. The court has ruled that it will not endanger Indigenous cultural heritage sites.
Justice Natalie Charlesworth shut down claims by a group of Tiwi Islanders that the proposed location of the pipeline, along with the concrete beds it sits on, will damage the sea country, dreaming tracks, songlines and areas of cultural significance, including burial sites and animal habitats. It means Santos can push ahead with the pipeline, which has been in limbo since September 2022. A big win for Santos and probably also for Woodside Energy, the other oil and gas major in the country.
Story number 4. This is fascinating, Sean. Artificial intelligence will affect almost 40% of global jobs, with advanced economies facing greater exposure than emerging markets and low-income countries. This is all according to a new analysis from the International Monetary Fund.
That's right. The fund, the 190-member fund, works to achieve sustainable growth and prosperity, but it's not sure about AI, saying it's likely to worsen overall inequality, something policymakers need to address. Advanced economies may have about 60% of jobs affected, more than emerging and low-income countries, according to the study. AI's income inequality effect will largely depend on how much the technology complements high earners. More productivity from high-income workers and companies will boost capital returns, but that'll probably widen the wealth gap. Not so good. The IMF's call on countries to provide comprehensive safety nets and retraining programs for vulnerable workers.
Okay, last one. Story number 5. For the past 5 years, Sean, Singapore and Japan have boasted the world's most powerful travel documents, granting their citizens access to more countries without a visa. But things have changed.
That's right, they sure have. Basically, European nations are doing better. So, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, they now have visa-free access to 194 of 227 destinations. That's more than last year. South Korea, Sweden and Finland all claim one spot as well. Where does Australia come in? Number 6, we get access to 189 countries, which isn't too bad. At the bottom of the list, you don't want a passport from Syria, nor from Iraq, nor from Pakistan, in fact, or Yemen. This is all information compiled by Henley & Partners. It compiles the passport index, and this appeared on Reuters.
Number 6. I reckon that's something to be proud of.
I reckon 189 of 222 destinations. That's great.
Yeah, top 6. I think we'll take that. There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Tuesday, the 16th of January, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.